In the old days, you know, yeah, when did the 80s become the old days? Yeah, the 90s. When did those become the old days? Yeah. Well, when the practices first came over here, there really wasn't much emphasis on concentration. You know, we read all the literature, and it said, concentration is not what actually leads to the kind of insight that ultimately we're going for, and that and so we said, oh, okay, let's not bother with that then. Let's just go on to open up the awareness, to just pay attention to whatever's going on. And it's one of the things that I think more of us are appreciating, just like we're more appreciative of the compassion practices and the need for those in this time. And the need for self-compassion, we're also seeing the need for more concentration. When you talk to people who've been practicing for a while, concentration tends to be the weakest link in their practice. The real steadiness, the real calm, the real steadiness and the real calm. And the thing is, and again, if you read the suttas, which we have finally, getting back to all that and some of the original teachings, concentration is so important. And the reason that the Buddha was able to experience insight so quickly when he sat under the Bodhi tree was he'd done 6 years of concentration before that. 6 years of nothing but concentration, because that was the go-to at that time. He developed the highest states of concentration. Now, it's true, ultimately he found them wanting, because as beautiful as they were, as sweet as they were, as steady as they were, as much relief as they provided from some of the assaultive, afflictive emotions, which is what concentration can do as it gets deeper, it still did not release. So that when he would come out of concentration states, the personality, the issues, that somebody stepped on his toe, when he came out, still the triggered reactions, the other kinds of greed, anger, spacing out, et cetera, would start to show up. And that's where he came up with mindfulness practice, a different kind of practice. But the foundation of it is concentration. Insight can only be as deep as the underpinning of concentration that undergirds it. And that is our weakest link. That's our weakest link. And actually, and Analio, in one of his books, said, and it's in kind of a nice way, he said, I sometimes wonder if the people who think that concentration isn't important probably don't have very much of it. Probably don't understand it. I know for myself, I'm finally developing some concentration. It's such a blessing to be able to really settle down. To really settle down. Like, where has this been my whole life? People will sort of wonder, well, we don't want to get attached to those mind states. Worry about the attachment later, after you really have some proficiency, after you can really drop in and settle down, because we need that like we need water in the desert, in this wild world. We need to give ourselves permission to really settle, to really take some time. We talk about the internal holding environment, which is really all about settling and calming and beginning to gather all of the wild energies of the mind and body, into one vicinity, into one space. That is foundational. That is so foundational. And it's true. Concentration practices, tranquility practices, in and of themselves do not lead to insight. They do lead to some insight. Insight's like, wow, I didn't realize how concentrated I wasn't. We get a lot of insight. Wow. There's insight there. Yeah. But the deeper insights don't come until we can move through some of those waters. There's a wonderful metaphor. I love this metaphor. It's like if you've ever been in the ocean and wanted to get out past the waves until where the water's a little bit more steady and calm out there. You can hang out there. You have to get past the waves, right? Past the kind of, what do they call it? The where the waves break, right? And in order to do that, you've really got to stay with it. And sometimes you have to kind of dive under the wave, into it, and go through it to get to the other side. The thing about concentration is we tend to not stay with it long enough to get to the other side. So concentrate just a little bit, and the next wave will crash us back to shore. We get a little bit of concentration, the next wave brings us back to shore. Okay, that's cool. We're all in that space. We all understand that space. Yeah. But we want to keep reinforcing the importance of it, of settling into it. And as you've heard us say again and again, it's not just about, okay, I got to get this. It's not about the willpower of concentration. It's about inviting the sweetness, the tenderness, the willingness, the inclination. We have to cultivate the inclination to settle, as if. And I said this the other day. How much energy does it take to pay attention to a beautiful sunset? Not much. It's just like, oh, or anything beautiful. It's like, oh, like that. You see, we have that capacity to tune into something like that. That's beautiful, And part of this practice is creating the breath to be beautiful, to be lovely, to be amazing, not to work harder to come back to it, but to come back to it as if it were quite spectacular. Like, where would we be without it, Yeah, coming back. It's a training. This is part of the heart training. Yes, it's attention, but yes, it's heart. It's the heart. It's interest and sweetness. Ajahn Brahm talks about the beautiful breath, the importance of finding the breath and creating it to be as beautiful as the most beautiful sunset you've ever seen, again and again and again. I don't like the expression fake it until you make it. It's training. It's simply our training. But at some point, it does start to feel so good to take a break, to be able to drop down and take some rest. To really exhale, to really, lovely. It can feel so lovely. And to finally get a break from those afflictive emotions, all that stuff knocking at the door, pulling for your attention, to not be so interesting quite, because it's so lovely in here. Yeah. I'll get to you later. Not now. This is what's front and center now. Now, of course, you may first experience that a few seconds at a time. Susan will say, make much of that. And then we try to hold on to it, and of course it collapses, Let's come back. This is what we're cultivating. With concentration. Yeah? Yeah. Well, I know we were also told, say, don't get attached to pleasant states. I think that's completely wrong. I'm telling you, 100% wrong. Now, we need to know how to really visit and settle and really settle and give ourselves permission to really settle, to discover the sweetness, to really discover a refuge. A refuge is not a cognitive refuge. A refuge is more like a home base. It feels, oh, yeah, yeah. And it takes a while. It doesn't matter how long it takes. We're going against a lot of conditioning here, a lot of history, a lot of frenetic energy, a lot of energy that moves out and out and out and out. So it's going to take some time. You know, it's going to take some time to again and again and again come back with care. Yeah, with interest, as if there really were something here that were special, that were important, that had yet to be revealed to us. That is like, oh, but first it needs our full, wholehearted attention. You see? Yeah. So we want to reemphasize with this part of concentration again with you, you know, the need for that. And that I still do it every single time I sit down for a few minutes before opening up to anything else. Both of us, let's just come in for a landing. Okay? Yeah? Okay.